Director Patel just promised transparency about FBI spending that's been hidden from the public since March. But Representative Meng's follow-up questions about Nazi sympathizers in government and potential mass firings of January 6th, investigators revealed the real battle for the soul of American law enforcement happening right now.
Director Patel, since 2022, the executive branch has been legally required to operate and maintain a publicly available system to which apportionments are posted. As you know, apportionments are legally required by the Anti-Deficiency Act. They are formal federal budgetary accounting documents that are legally binding on federal agency, and OMB uses them to tell agencies how and when they can spend legally appropriated funds. Beginning in March, this OMB stopped making these documents publicly accessible. You stated in your confirmation hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee that you want to work to get public trust in the FBI back. It would seem to me that transparency and public reporting about where and how the Bureau is spending money would help in earning back public trust. As the leader of our nation's principal federal law enforcement agency, will you commit to making the FBI's account-specific apportionments publicly available?
Absolutely, so long as I have the appropriate request.
The law requires that all the information be posted publicly. Are you committing to do that?
If that's what the law requires, yes. I'm not the appropriations expert, but if that's what the law requires, that's what we'll do.
Do you have a timeline of when that would be possible, and why, since March, has it been taken down?
No, ma'am, but I will get you one.
Okay, so thank you for committing to publicly post what is required by law, the apportionment for the FBI. I wanted to ask about one of the U.S. Attorney nominee Ed Martin. As you know, the FBI conducts background checks on nominees for senior positions in the federal government. Ed Martin has been nominated by the president to serve as U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, one of the top prosecutor positions in the country, and he currently holds that position in an interim role. If it has come to light that Mr. Martin has praised a Nazi sympathizer named Timothy Hale Cuccinelli, who was also pardoned by President Trump after being convicted as a January 6th rioter. Mr. Martin called Hale Cuccinelli, quote, an extraordinary man, an extraordinary leader. He's also falsely claimed that he did not previously know that he was a Nazi sympathizer. Do you think that this is the kind of thing that the FBI should be careful to investigate as part of its background checks on nominees such as Mr. Martin?
Thank you, ma'am. I'm not familiar with Mr. Martin's specific BI investigation, but I can tell you how the BIs are done for everybody at the FBI. We have careers running the entire inspection division and HRD component. That has not changed since I've been in the seat, and every BI has been held to the same standard by them, and either they pass along the information from their investigations that they cultivate, or they don't. We do not tell them what to pass on and what not to investigate.
Do you know if this information and past association was part of the record?
I'm not familiar with his personal background.
Do you think that these types of controversial comments and interviews, association with Nazi sympathizers and anti-Semitic comments would be appropriate for inclusion in a given FBI background check?
Ma'am, since his nomination is pending, it's not for me to comment on it. I don't have the BI in front of me.
But in general, do you think that comments and associations like these should be part of an FBI background investigation report?
That's up to the field agents, ma'am. I can't rewrite that for them. They have a way of doing these investigations that I have not inhibited or changed or altered since I got in the seat.
Will you look into it and make sure that should be included, controversial and very troublesome anti-Semitic comments and associations like that should be part of a background check?
I will.
Thank you. Lastly, as you know, earlier this year, the Justice Department demanded a list of all current and former FBI employees who at any time worked on January 6th investigations. According to the email from the then acting FBI director, the Justice Department will review those employees to, quote, determine whether any additional personnel actions are necessary. Director Patel, do you anticipate firing any additional FBI employees simply because they worked on January 6th related investigations?
Thank you for the question. That email or memo was sent out prior to my arrival at the FBI. We have not addressed that specific email since I've arrived because the matter's in litigation in federal court.
Do you anticipate firing any additional employees that may have worked in relation to the January 6th investigations?
The only way you get fired from the FBI while I'm the director is if you violate the ethical guidelines or break the law.
Okay, thank you. I yield back.
What Representative Grace Meng accomplished in this hearing wasn't just questioning, it was surgical exposure of how transparency dies in government agencies. She methodically dismantled 3 critical issues that reveal how institutional accountability evaporates when leadership prioritizes political loyalty over public trust. Start with the apportionment scandal. Since 2022, federal law has required the executive branch to publicly post apportionments, legal documents that tell agencies exactly how and when they can spend taxpayer money. These are binding legal requirements under the Anti-Deficiency Act that ensure Congress and citizens can track where their money goes. But since March, the Office of Management and Budget simply stopped posting them. When Meng pressed Patel to commit to transparency, his response was telling, absolutely, so long as I have the appropriate request. That's not how legal requirements work. You don't need permission to follow the law. This matters because financial transparency is democracy's immune system. When agencies hide spending decisions, they can quietly shift resources toward political priorities without congressional oversight. Without public apportionments, Congress discovers these shifts months or years later, if at all. Patel's hesitation reveals an administration that sees transparency as optional, not mandatory. Then Meng moved to Dodd Martin, Trump's nominee for U.S. Attorney in D.C. Martin publicly praised Timothy Hale, Cuccinelli, calling him an extraordinary man, an extraordinary leader. Cuccinelli is a convicted January 6th rioter who was pardoned by Trump and has documented Nazi sympathizer connections. When Martin was confronted about this, he falsely claimed ignorance of Cuccinelli's background. Meng asked whether FBI background checks should include such associations. Patel's response was bureaucratic deflection. That's up to the field agents, ma'am. This reveals dangerous abdication of leadership responsibility. Background investigations for senior federal positions or national security assessments. If the FBI director won't ensure that Nazi sympathizer connections are flagged in background checks, what other red flags get buried? When directors claim they don't influence what gets investigated, they're either lying or admitting they've lost control of their own agency. The January 6th firing question exposed the most systemic threat. Earlier this year, the Justice Department demanded a list of all FBI employees who worked on January 6th investigations to determine whether any additional personnel actions are necessary. That's bureaucratic language for a purge. When Meng asked if Patel anticipated firing agents for their investigative work, he gave the classic non-denial denial. The only way you get fired from the FBI while I'm the director is if you violate ethical guidelines or break the law. Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, no, I won't fire agents for investigating January 6. He created a loophole large enough to drive a truck through. If leadership decides that investigating January 6 violated ethical guidelines, then those firings become justified under Patel's own standard. This is how institutional purges work. You don't announce political motivation. You redefine professional standards to achieve political goals. The downstream effects are predictable and devastating. Career agents who see colleagues fired for following evidence will self-censor complex investigations requiring years of sustained effort will be abandoned midstream. Institutional memory and expertise will walk out the door, leaving behind agents who prioritize political survival over investigative integrity. Meng's questioning revealed 3 pillars of democratic accountability under assault: financial transparency that prevents corruption, background checks that prevent infiltration, and personnel protection that prevents politicization. When all 3 erode simultaneously, you don't have a law enforcement agency, you have a political instrument. This isn't about partisan politics or policy disagreements. It's about whether core governmental functions can operate independently of political pressure. When the FBI becomes a tool for protecting allies and punishing enemies, the rule of law becomes meaningless. The solution requires both immediate and structural changes. Congress must enforce existing transparency laws through appropriations, pressure, and subpoena power. Background check standards need codification beyond bureaucratic discretion, and personnel protections for career staff need strengthening against political retaliation. But the deeper fix is cultural, restoring the norm that government agencies serve the public interest, not personal loyalty to individual leaders. Meng's persistence in this hearing matters because democracy survives through thousands of small accountability moments like this one. When representatives demand straight answers to basic questions about legal compliance, they're maintaining the civic infrastructure that separates democratic governance from authoritarian control.